I own a Bond Arms Texas Defender 410/45. I've had it for about 6 months now, and sadly I had to fend off an attempted carjacking with it about 2 weeks after I got it. I had it, and still currently do, loaded with a federal 2.5-inch triple-aught buck in the top barrel and the 45 Colt in the bottom. I had it set to fire the 410 first. When the assailant opened the door of my truck at around 2 in the morning, he got 4 lead pellets from about 3 feet right in the upper chest and throat area. I've read statements on several internet forums from armchair commandos, most of whom have never actually had to shoot someone, who seem to want to carry elephant guns around in their pockets. Trust me, in most social situations I'd be more concerned about the quality of my attorney than the caliber of my gun if I shot someone in self-defense from the distances most of these experts speak of. Most surprise self-defense situations are at a distance of 6 feet or less. At that distance 410 triple-aught buck is ample to fend off the bad guy. So here is the story. I first noticed him when my wife and I were walking to our truck in a parking lot. He was just kind of milling around across the street, and we really didn't give it much thought right then. After we were in the truck and rolling, I wasn't concerned about him at all. We pulled out of the parking lot and started toward an intersection about a half a block, maybe 50 feet, away from the parking lot exit. When we stopped at the intersection, at a red light, we were talking about which route to use to get out of the city. We weren't really paying attention anymore. My wife said, "There's that guy again." Normally our doors are locked when driving in that part of town, and I assumed they were then too. Just habit to lock them. When I looked up to see where he was about 30 feet from the driver's side door heading our way. It was kind of dark, but I could see he had something in his hand. I just put my hand on my gun, just in case, and I thought the light would change so I could go. I would have driven off anyway, but there was traffic going both ways and I couldn't get through the intersection right then. When I looked again, he was about 5 to 6 feet away, and I could see that he did have a gun in his hand. I then pulled my derringer out and cocked it with my left hand and clicked off the safety with my right thumb as I was pulling it out. I pretty much knew then that somebody was going to get shot, at least that's what was going through my head at that moment. I'm an ordained minister, but I'm not a pacifist. I have always fought to defend myself. I was still thinking my door was locked, so when the door opened, I was pretty shocked and I just reacted to a gun pointing at me. He obviously had no idea what I had in the truck, or I probably would have been shot if he still wanted to jack my truck or rob us or whatever he had in mind, if he had known. I doubt that he would have even tried to mess with us if he had known, but who knows? He never had a chance to say anything. When I saw his gun as my door opened, I just pointed the gun out the door at his face and fired. He must have seen my gun at the last second, because he kind of moved off, lynched or whatever, and I didn't hit him in the face as I intended. That's why I got him in the throat, I guess. The street cleared of any other people for what seemed like several minutes afterward. We called 911 after pulling through the intersection, and then people started showing up from all around us. Somebody said something like, "This guy's dead," but he wasn't quite yet. He was dead before the cops or emergency people arrived though. That took less than 5 minutes, I'm guessing. After that I told the cops a brief statement of what happened, and like the guy on a concealed carry website says, I said I would sign a complaint against the guy. I then told them that I would give them a complete account of what had happened after I talked to my lawyer. Trust me guys, don't say anything more than what I have described that I said to the cops in this video if you ever have to do this. As it took a lot of interviews with the cops and the district attorney and a lot of good lawyer work to keep this thing from being a real bad thing for me and my family. In my state, and I'm not going to divulge that info for reasons I can't go into, if you have to defend yourself like this or in any other way where the perp is killed and it is declared self-defense, you cannot be sued. But it has to be declared self-defense and you have to be cleared by the state's attorney for that to be true. There are several reasons to keep your mouth shut until your lawyer gets to you. Just give the basics as you saw it and make sure you tell the cops at the scene that you believe that you or someone else's life was in danger and that you will sign a complaint against the bad guy and then politely ask to speak to your lawyer. No matter what the cops ask for. Here are some of my thoughts in regards to your weapon choice. I think it comes down to a few very important factors. First, your own self-confidence in using your weapon of choice. Second, your willingness to actually pull the trigger if faced with a similar situation. You'd be surprised how many think they are, but when it comes down to it they hesitate or fail to fire at all. Third, caliber does matter to a large degree even with a contact shot. I wouldn't have wanted to stick anything from a 22 up to and including a 32 and maybe not even a 38 out the door in the face of a bad guy and have to bet my life that I was going to do more than just piss him off. Whatever you shoot, it has to at the very least befuddle the guy for a time so you can at least get away. And last but certainly not least, no matter what you shoot, it's location, location, location. Which means practice, practice, practice. I got to tell you guys one more thing. When I stuck this little gun out the door and fired it, I was almost deaf in my left ear for about a week and a half. Think about how far the gun was from my left ear when shooting across my body and strapped in with a seat belt restricting my ability to turn more toward the attacker. I am only proud of one thing here. I was able to protect my wife from whatever the bad guy had on his mind. In my opinion, no one should ever be proud of taking a human life to the point of bragging on the internet or anywhere else for that matter. I also understand the idea that maybe my story could help someone else who might be faced with something like this, him or herself.